Welcome to the Blackboard Assessments tutorial. In our time together, we are going to explore the basic assessment options in Blackboard. So let's begin our journey by going to the Blackboard Pilot Group Training course and clicking on Course Work. Once you are in coursework, I want you to hover over the chevron for assessments. These are the different areas that we're going to talk about during this tutorial. They include test, survey, assignment, self and peer assessment, safe assignment, McGraw-Hill, and mobile compatible test. The first four listed right here we're going to focus on. The last three you will not have access to immediately. So let's talk about those three first and get them out of the way. Safe assignment is a plagiarism tool. It is much like Turnitin, except what happens is when they submit their paper to it, it is immediately scanned for plagiarism. So it's just a little bit easier to use than Turnitin. McGraw-Hill assignment function is for those of you who will be using McGraw-Hill materials. So once those materials are loaded into Blackboard for you, you will have this McGraw-Hill option. If you don't have any McGraw-Hill materials, this option will not be available to you. Then we have the mobile compatible test. We do not have this function currently. It would make your testing more compatible with mobile devices such as tablets and so forth, but unless we buy that function, we won't have that available yet. So let's skip back up here to the top and let's talk about a test in Blackboard. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to go down here and click on the BB Assessments folder link. And this is where I have created all the materials that should help you get started on creating assessments and tests within Blackboard. You'll see right here there is a PDF of instructions for you. There you go. And so I would suggest that you print this out and keep this in a notebook somewhere, so whenever you want to create a test, you have that paper right there for you. Now, if you have worked in Angel before, you will find that creating a test in Blackboard is not that much different. It has all the same basic functions and so forth, but setting the settings for a test in Blackboard I feel is much easier than what we are able to do in Angel. So I think that you'll like the functionality that we have in Blackboard a little bit better than what we had in Angel. Now, this is a video tutorial about how to create a test in Blackboard, and this is a video as well about creating a pool of questions. And then this is about exporting and importing test or surveys into other classes. Now, I would suggest that you watch these videos on your own. I think they're very helpful. They were produced by Blackboard and so forth. But I'm not going to show those to you right now. For creating a pool of questions, this is what you will need to do. First of all, there are a couple different options for pools. One is that you can create your own pool of questions for a class within Blackboard. The other option that you have is to utilize a pool of questions that the author has made available to you. And that is one of the most popular options for using pools. Now, the reason why I would suggest that you do use pools of questions is that it can help you with the problem of cheating. If you can have a pool of 100 questions, let's say, and you're going to give a test with only 50 questions, when you configure that test in Blackboard, you can tell it to only choose 50 questions for each test out of a pool of 100. So as you can see, this will help cut down on cheating because your students will each get a set of 50 different questions. So each time Blackboard is told to develop a test for a student, when they click on it to start it, it will generate 50 questions, but they probably won't be the same questions as the person sitting next to them in the classroom, or if they are trying to cheat, it's just going to be harder for them to work with someone else because they will have a lot of different questions. So that's why we would suggest creating your pool of questions. And of course you can write your own pool of questions as well. And this tutorial right here just gives you instructions on how to do that. Let's talk about exporting and importing exams and surveys and so forth. In Angel, a lot of you probably remember that we are able to copy a test between classes from one class to the next, and you're able just to click on copy and copy it over. Well, that functionality does not exist in Blackboard right now. You have to go through this actual process of exporting the test to your computer and then importing it into the other class. So it's not as easy as it used to be, but it is easy though, basically. And once you learn the process and watch this video, you'll see what I'm saying. It's a very easy process to follow. Well, what I did was I went in here and I built a training test simulation for you because I wanted you to see what a test looks like. So first of all, this is a test that I've created. Now I'm in here as a teacher, as an editor. And I'm going to click on the chevron for this. And as you can see, for the test that I've already created, there are several things that I can do. One of the first most important thing is probably just to edit the test. So I'm going to click on that. And this can be any test. You will always be able to edit your exams. And there it goes. Okay, so it has taken me into my training test simulation, and you can see what it looks like to you. You have a description that you were asked to put in and instructions. I've only created 3 questions with a total number of points of 30, and I've allowed 4 attempts on this. So if I want to go into an existing exam, I can go in and I can create new questions. I can delete questions. I can go right into the question to edit it. And to do that, in Angel, you were able just to click on the question and it would open it up for you and you would edit it. But here we have to click on the chevron by each question, and then we would go to edit. And let's give it a second to get there. And now we can go in and just, if something like that comes up, just say, okay. Let's see if we can get out of this. Okay, I'm back. So as you can see, I'm in the question in the edit mode, and what you can do is, this is where you will type in your actual question, and you can see that you have this whole big long toolbar in here where you can put in all sorts of information. You can put video in here, and we will cover that in the content tools training sessions as well. We will also talk about mashups in the content tools training sessions, but you can put images in here and you can put videos, and then of course your question. And then let's scroll down a little bit, and you can see your different options. You can choose answer numbering, how you want those denoted, and for this I've just chosen Arabic numerals 1, 2, and 3. You can look at the answer orientation. Do you want it horizontal or vertical? I'm going to go with horizontal. This is a Likert opinion question, so I have to allow for partial credit on that. And you also have the option, I'm sorry about that, right here of showing the answers in random order. I would suggest doing that, and I'm going to go ahead and check that simply simply because that will help with cheating possibilities. And then you can see how the answers are listed here below. And I think what's really cool in Blackboard in the assessment manager is that you have this great toolbar for each and every answer option. So we just didn't have that in Angel. Now scroll down and you can put in feedback. If you see right up here, you can put in feedback for the correct response, and then you can put in the incorrect response feedback as well. And then we get a little bit more detailed. We can assign categories to the questions. Now this will come in really handy if you are creating your own pool of questions and writing those. You can add it to a topic. You can add in its level of difficulty, and you can add in keywords if you need to. And then you can put in instructor notes as well. And then we would say submit and update attempts. There we go. Okay. So now that is what a test looks like once you've created it from your side, on the editing side. But let's go up here. Let's get out of this. Okay. Let's go back to this right here. Let me go back to coursework. Okay. Now I'm going to go up here where it says edit mode is, and I'm going to say off, because now I want to show you what this test looks like for a student. So let me click on that. And it looks quite a bit like it does on the student side in Angel. They have the basic instructions here. It says this is not a forced completion. The test can be saved and resumed later, and the test allows multiple attempts. So I'm going to go over here as a student and say begin. And let's give it a second. Okay, so this is what it looks like inside the test as a student. And what I really like about this is how it's formatted with the question 1 and these nice little design bars. And so the first question is, I feel positive about making the transition from Angel to Blackboard, and I'm going to say strongly, I'm going to say agree. And then BB stands for Blackboard. I'm going to say true. And then Blackboard is I'm going to say it is a website that sells history books. And I'm all done as a student. I will say save and submit. Say OK. And this is what I see as a student. It tells me that it was saved and submitted, when it was started, when it was ended. I used 1 whole minute to take this, so I gave it a lot of thought. Let me say I want to close this tab. And so now it's taken me to where, as a student, I can see the points that I earned. And it looks like I got 20 out of 30 because that very last question I answered incorrectly on purpose because I wanted you to see what that looks like. And then we will say OK. And so that's what a test looks like from the student side. So how can we actually create a test here in Blackboard? Well, let's go back up to the edit mode and let's say on, because I need to be in edit mode to actually create a test. And this is something that you could do in your sandbox while I'm showing this to you. So I'm going to go to test. Now I want to also let you know that the way that you create a test is the same way that you create a survey. So we're not going to get into a survey and go in depth on that as well. We're going to cover a test and survey together right now. So I will click on test. And I'm going to say right here, well, I want to create a new test. Now I want you to look below here, and it gives you the option of adding an existing test. And I have two tests that I have created in here while I've been doing these training classes, and one is the presentation day test and one is test. I don't want to use either of those. I'm going to click on create, and this little warning keeps coming up for me, and I got out of it. Ooh, thank goodness. So the name of this is going to be, I need to give it another name. I'm going to say webinar test. Okay, now when you create an exam, you can put in a description. Now keep in mind that this description can also be made available to your students so they can keep in their mind what they're doing. And I'm going to say this is exam 2 over chapters 5 through 8 in the text book. Now I need to put some instructions, and I'm just going to make this very basic, and I'll say please answer all questions. Oopsie. And click on submit. And I'm going to bold that. So they know you really must hit submit on an exam. Now I am going to say submit because I'm submitting my test. So this is a screen that it takes me to. I have my description and I have my instructions. Well, as you can see, I now get to create my questions and so forth. So right here, let's click on the chevron for create question, and as you can see, and I really like this about Blackboard, you have a lot of different question choices to use now. And one of them that I'm really impressed with, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go over right now just a couple of the really cool ones. We have hotspot, and hotspot is where you could upload a picture of something that you want them to identify something on that picture. And then when you upload that picture in hotspot, it will tell you to click and drag the area that the students need to identify when they're taking the test. So then when the students see this hotspot question, they will see this image that you have uploaded, and they will get the question from you. And the question could be something like, identify the blankety blank chair in the image. And maybe that image has 3 different chairs, let's say. And so the student has to click and drag over the appropriate chair. And so that is something we did not have in Angel. I think that is just so cool. We did have the opinion scale Likert question in Angel, but it was just a little bit harder to use than what it is here in Blackboard. And in that test that I just showed you from the student side, that first question about how I felt about switching to Blackboard, that was listed, that was an opinion scale Likert question. You also have the Quiz Bowl, which is much like a game show. I have checked that out a little bit. It seemed kind of difficult to use. So if you want to use that, come to us and we will do more research for you on how to use Quiz Bowl appropriately. But there are so many different types of questions in here. I'm just so impressed with them. So my best advice to you is when creating a pool of questions and so forth, be creative with it, test them out on your own. They're all very easy to use, user friendly, so to speak. But I'm going to create for right now just a true false. Let me get out of this. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to put in a question title, and I'm just going to call it BB. And my question is going to be, Blackboard is a learning management system. Now, the answer to that is true. I'm going to leave the answer orientation vertical, and my answer is true, so I have that clicked. Now if I want to give feedback, I can put that right in there and say Blackboard is a management system. Now this is just a really basic example. I would expect you to get just a little bit more in depth than I am, but for the purpose of today, this is what we will do. And correct answer, I don't know. I'm not quite sure what to say for that. So the incorrect response, we're just going to leave that blank. I'm not smart enough to come up with something right at the moment. Then let's go down here. We have categories and keywords. So I could go in and assign, I could add a category to this. I could add a topic to it. I could add a level of difficulty and then keywords if I wanted to. I could put instructor notes in here. I don't really have much to say about this question. It's pretty easy. And I will say submit. Now, if I'm going to create another question right after this, I could click on submit and create another, and that would save you a little bit of time. But I'm just going to say submit. Okay, so here is my question. Now, it has been assigned 10 points, and what we want to do is update those points. So I'm going to click on that. Gosh darn it, let me get rid of that. And I am going to change this to only 2 points. And I'm going to say submit. And so here I have my question. I have it at 2 points. Now if I had selected a question type and formed one, it would be listed right in here and so forth. Okay, so those are the real basics of how to create an exam in Blackboard. And that's the same way that you will go in and create a survey as well. What I would like to talk about now is how to create an assignment. And if you click right here, you will find a PDF about how to create an assignment in Blackboard. This is very different than what we've been doing in Angel. It's a lot simpler process now, and I think you will really like it. So I think the best thing for me to do is to actually show you how to create an assignment. So let me go up here, make sure I'm in the edit mode, and I go to Assessments, and I click on Assignment. And when you're working in Blackboard, this little error that's coming up for me will not be coming up for you. So bear with me. I do apologize for that. Okay, this is an assignment, and I'm going to call this the Persuasive Speech Self-Assessment. And then I have to put in instructions. Now, let me scroll down. If you have your instructions already in PDF format, you can browse right here and attach those instructions to this drop box. But I don't have any of those, let's say, so I'm going to type in here, please watch your persuasive speech video and answer the following questions. And then I could list out my questions right here. And then I could say that I want them to type up those questions in Word. So I'll do it like this. I'll say, and answer the following questions in a Word document and submit to and submit. Let's leave it like that. Okay. And then I would have the questions listed out here, whatever those might be. Now, points possible. I'm going to make this worth 20 points. Scroll down. Okay, availability. Now this is pretty important. If you want to make the assignment available, you must have this box right here checked. How many attempts are you going to allow? I am going to allow one single attempt because this is just a Word document. It's not a quiz or anything. I'm going to score my attempts using the last graded attempt. They're only putting one in. And then you can limit your availability right here. You can start displaying after a certain day and display until a certain day. And that's the only time that they can submit to this. And I'm going to say track number of views because I think it's always wise to track your students' movement within the class, because if they come to you and say, well, I wasn't able to access that assignment and see the instructions, you can actually go in and pull a report and see how many times they did indeed look at it. Then of course we have our due dates, so we could put the due date right in there. And it says right here, it tells you submissions are accepted after this date, but they are marked late. So you would do that, and then you could put your date in there. But I'm not going to mess with that right now. And then of course we have recipients, and it just needs to be, if it's everyone, just all students individually. And let's say submit. Okay, so let me scroll down. And it went to the very bottom. So this is what it looks like on your side, right here. Now, let's go back up and let's go to the student side. So turn off the edit mode. And I'm the student, so let me click on this and let's see what it looks like. Okay, so it tells me 20 points are possible, and so that's right up at the top. It gives them the basic instructions. And now they have to do their assignment submission. They have a couple of choices. They can write the submission right here. So they click on that and the text box comes up. Now, if you are going to allow them to type it up in this text box, you need to let them know up here in your instructions. This is completely up to you. But if you want them to create a Word document and attach it to this, you will need to let them know up here. And you would need to give them more guidance than what I have given in this example. Or so then they could go here, browse on their computer, and attach the file that they have created. This is where they can add any comments, and then they can say submit. And I'm not going to submit because I don't have anything to submit at this point. So let me say cancel. And let me turn that edit mode back on. So as you can see, creating an assignment in Blackboard is so much simpler than what it was in Angel. I think you will enjoy creating those assignments now. And it feeds this, it feeds this directly into your gradebook. And I wanted to show you that. So let me go over here and click on Grade Center, and I'm going to go to Assignments. Okay, so this was called, we called this the persuasive speech, and there it is right there, the persuasive speech self-assessment. And as you can see, when I created that in course content, it went ahead and created it right in the gradebook. So I don't have to do that as a whole other process anymore. It automatically adds that in. It also automatically adds in exams that you create. And if I go back to my grade center, let me go over here, let me go to test, and as you can see, I have created some exams in here, and they have been loaded right in here. Training, test, simulation, presentation, day, test, and so forth. So that works out pretty well. It makes it pretty easy for you, and just more streamlined than what it was in Angel. Now let's go back here to our assessments folder. And as I told you, if we go back to assignments, the last part that I wanted to talk about is self and peer assessment. Now, right here, there is some information on self and peer assessment, and it tells you right up here that self and peer assessment is a tool designed to facilitate the objective, analytical, and learning comprehension skills of students. So this is what happens with it. You can allow your students to take a sample essay test, let's say, and they could take it 2 weeks before they take the real exam that you're going to grade. Now, in this test exam, you can assign their fellow classmates anonymously to their exam to grade it and give them feedback. So let's say I'm taking a test in a class, an example 1, and I fill out, I answer the essay questions, and then 3 of my classmates are going to quote-unquote grade that anonymously for me and give me feedback. And so the great thing about that is I'm getting my peers' feedback on what I should and should not be doing. Their name is not affiliated with it, so I have no reason to get mad about what they're saying or anything like that. And it really, that peer assessment helps everyone to learn more. I think that peers definitely like learning from their peers. Sometimes they listen to their peers more than they listen to us, their teacher. And I would suggest that you read over this information. If you scroll down, this is why I didn't put all of these back in the folder. You can scroll down and get all kinds of information on how to create one, how to, it goes into assessments as well, export, import, add criteria to a question, just all kinds of really valuable information. So I left that there for you to go over on your own. So if I go back to our class, today what we have covered is assessments, and we have talked about test, survey, assignment, and self and peer assessment. Remember, the last 3 are not available to you at this moment. and sometimes they may not be, just according to what kind of book you're using and so forth. And that is all that we have for you today. If you have any questions about this, please let the ID&T team know. My name is Tara Canfield, and you can certainly contact me with any questions, and I'll be more than happy to help you. Thanks, and have a great time working in Blackboard.